The first drink of somebody's day at Terminal 1 Seagates gets poured at 7:17 a.m. It's a Bloody Mary, because it's always a Bloody Mary, and the man ordering it is not a morning drinker, he's a 9 p.m. drinker, whose body just landed in a time zone he doesn't recognize. He tells me he's flying home to bury his father. I tell him the celery is fresh. A man broken by loss with a bartender fighting not to lose. This is the job. You pour fast, you listen faster, and you do the math in your head on what a human being can absorb between a connecting flight and whatever's waiting for them at baggage claim. 20 years behind the bar in this town, and the airport is the only room where nobody's irregular and everybody's about to disappear. Here's what the passengers never figure out. The bar isn't run by the airline. It isn't run by the airport either. The airline flies the planes. The airport owns the building. The bar, the actual place where I'm chilling the glass and reading the man's face and deciding whether the celery is a garnish or a symbol of kindness, is run by a private company most people in Las Vegas have never heard of, operating under a federal program most people in America have never heard of, designed around a theory of fairness that falls apart the second you meet anyone who works a shift inside of it. The program is called the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. It has existed since 1983, and this is why the room you just walked through looks the way it does. The short version is this. In 1983, Congress decided that the federally funded transportation projects, highway, transit systems, airports, should include small businesses owned by people that the industry had historically shut out. Black people, Latino people, indigenous people, Asian Americans, and women entrepreneurs mostly. The theory was simple. Federal dollars shouldn't flow exclusively to the same handful of companies that have been eating at the table the whole time. The program got a name, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, DBE for short, and it's been reauthorized on a bipartisan basis forever. At airports, it has a second name, ACDBE, Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. It governs who gets the leases to run the bars, restaurants, newsstands, coffee kiosks, and car rental counters. Every airport that takes federal money, which is every airport you've ever flown out of, is required to set a participation goal and hit it. Here is what the program measures: who owns the business. Here is what the program does not measure: who works there, what they're paid, and whether the operator honors a contract, whether the workplace is safe, humane, or functional, whether the human being pouring your pre-flight drink can afford rent or the mortgage in the city that they're serving you in. The federal government counts the owner. The federal government does not count me. Here's the part the passengers don't know. The bartenders, the cooks, the counter workers, and the baristas at Harry Reid have been out of contract for nearly 5 years. Not 5 months, 5 years. 400 workers represented by Local 165 and 226. And the agreement overseeing what we're owed has been expired since the first year of the pandemic. We returned to the bargaining table in November 2025. The ask was simple, 4 things, and none of them are radical: wage increases, the health care benefits we already have, which the operators would like us to give up, successorship language, meaning if a lease changes hands, the next owner honors the contract, so we're not starting from zero every time a company flips, and technology language, meaning that the kiosk that replaces a cashier doesn't replace a family's rent without anyone at the table having a say. The operators are sitting across from us are companies you walk past every time you fly through town: Jamba Juice, Wendy's, Village Pub, the concessions operations run by Cammy Mickens, Jersey Mike's, Nathan's, Lucky Streak, all of them operating under the ACDBE certification the federal government extends a remedy for historical exclusion. All of them at the table on this issue on the same side. The most recent session went backwards. The operators introduced a new concern, the Iran conflict. I will say that carefully. There is an active war. There is a fragile ceasefire. It's not a small thing, and nobody at our table is pretending it is. But the workers across from those operators who have been without a contract since 2021, 5 Super Bowls ago, one of them in the city, another one announced for 2029, a president ago, and now we're being told that a situation 7,000 miles away with no clear line to whether a terminal bartender can afford her rent in Henderson is fresh reason to keep waiting. Clark County owns the airport. The Board of County Commissioners approves the contracts. The Department of Aviation administers the federal program, and they signed off on a 27.5% ACDBE goal that governs food and beverage concessions at Harry Reid until November 2038. Every one of them has a mailing address. None of them has yet explained why. In the airport they own and the program they administer, a contract dispute has been allowed to run for 5 years. 5 years, 400 people, one federal program built on a promise somebody forgot to keep. This is the part that I cannot make funny. The disadvantaged business enterprise is not failing, it's succeeding exactly as designed. The federal government set out to measure something: ownership of a small business receiving federal contracts, and in it measures the things that meticulously with certified paperwork, 3-year reevaluations, and personal net worth caps indexed to inflation. On the narrow question the program asks, it works. The problem is the question it doesn't ask. DVE was built to remedy discrimination against business owners. That is a legitimate goal. It's also the entire goal. The program does not measure what a certified operator pays the people on its floor. It does not measure whether the operator honors a union contract. It does not measure whether the job the operator creates is one a human being can live on or a human being can survive. Those questions were not part of the design, and 43 years of certifications, reevaluations, and federal oversight have not quietly been added to them. You can hit every diversity number on the federal form and still run a workplace that breaks its people, not as a loophole, as the system is functioning as written. This is the part nobody at DOT wants to say out loud. A program designed to get contracts to historically excluded owners will, in the specific case of the hospitality industry, produce owners who run their operations the way hospitality is run in this country, which is to say, with the workers as the variable that absorbs the margin. Which brings us to the window that opened on October 3rd of last year. On that day, the U.S. Department of Transportation issued an interim final rule that rewrote the DBE and ACDBE programs from the inside. The old presumption that Black people, Latino people, Indigenous people, Asian Americans, and women business owners were, by category, socially and economically disadvantaged. It's gone. Every certified DBE and ACDBE firm in the country, including every concession operator at every American airport, must now be reevaluated under a new standard. Disadvantage has to be proven individually with evidence of real economic harm on a case-by-case basis until the review is done on a firm's participation cannot count toward the airport's federal goal. I'm not going to tell you whether this rule is right. That is an argument for the lawyers, and I've poured drinks for enough of them to know how this ends. What I'm going to tell you is what it means practically for the concession operators at Harry Reid, sitting across from 400 workers who have been out of contract for 5 years. It means every one of them is currently under federal review. It means the certifications that let them operate under the program, the certifications that are the entire reason we are having this conversation, are, as of today, open questions. It means that a concessionaire who cannot define its eligibility under the new standard does not count towards the airport's numbers. And a concessionaire who cannot count towards the airport's numbers becomes very quickly a concessionaire that the airport has to consider replacing. There has not been a moment like this in 40 years. It is now 9:47 p.m. Same bar, same stool, where the man with the Bloody Mary sat this morning, though he's long since landed in whatever city was waiting for him, and I hope the funeral was bearable. A woman is now sitting here. She's not flying home to bury anyone, as far as I can tell. She's flying somewhere to pretend for 3 days that her life is different from what it is, and she would like a vodka soda and a minute of quiet. I pour it, I give her the minute. 20 years behind the bar in this town, and I can tell you exactly what changes when a passenger finally knows who they're watching work. Nothing at first. The drink still gets poured. The shift still ends. The contract is still 5 years past its expiration. What changes is who is paying attention. The operators know which contracts they hold. The airport authority knows which leases it grants. The Department of Transportation knows which certifications it's issued. The only people in this equation who have not decided what they know are the passengers. You are the passengers.